Ambar. Actually, you're tuned in again. Thank you for tuning in again. And I'm here with my co-host Steven.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Why am I saying welcome? It's been a long day. It's been a long day.
It's
Thank
Friday.
you. Thank you for having me yet again, even with my mishap, because you could have fired me.
No, no, no. It's all good. I'm not one of those angry bosses that is like I'm really chill. Well, how would you like say my character is while you're interacting with me in this?
We're recording. I don't really want to talk. I feel pressured. I feel
Oh, okay.
pressured
All
right
right.
now.
All right, cool.
We're recording.
It's
The
okay.
people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that right now.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, today's episode, we're going to be talking about soft life versus real responsibility. I feel like it's also a good topic to talk about, especially because of how expensive it is these days in general, the cost of living. So, some topics that I would like to dive into are social media selling luxury, ease, and escape. People confusing peace with avoidance, the reality that discipline often creates the soft life people want. And, me as a mother, soft life looks different than it did before. So I want to dive into those
Mm,
kind of things.
interesting. I can't wait for your thoughts.
Okay, well, for starters, the social media, selling luxury and needs. I feel like, especially in today's climate, everyone, is selling something online, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
an ebook, a product, a dress, everybody's like, oh, I'm wearing this, oh, outfits of the day. And I don't blame them, that there's side hustles,
Mm-hmm.
and get it where you can. But sometimes that can be, I guess, overwhelming I guess as a consumer, as a person who's just on social media for fun. How do you feel about that?
Um, what's interesting enough, I don't think men really experience it in that sort of way. Um, honestly, I have no idea how men find out the things that they like or how they're being marketed towards. Because that
Mhm.
shit don't work on me. Like, if I rarely see something online where it's like, oh, I really want that. Or if I do, it's because I was following the creator specifically and they happen to create product that I enjoy or whatever. Um, but yeah, I think from the idea for women, like, yes, I think, and you kind of starting to see that from like the actual creatives themselves. Like, not having to take a different approach when they are marketing these items. I think for a long period of time, it was kind of like, here's what I'm using, you know, here's me aesthetically, like put two and two together, buy my shit or buy said item and use my code. I think now, because people have gotten tired of ad placements everywhere, you're starting to see that shift from the content creators where it's kind of like, hey, I use this, or I never specifically use this, or because, I'm fortunate enough to know people in that space who get, the items shipped to them. Sometimes in their close friends, like they'll say like, hey, this company sent this product to me, but I wasn't really liking it, or whatever the case may be, like showing the behind the scenes stuff versus like, we've all have encountered somebody who's like selling the item, never used it, told you it's great. You end up buying it and the shit ends up being trash. And I think there's also that then ties into the idea of, the soft life and like how some people may market themselves or market their lifestyle in a certain way, but then come to find out how they obtain it, if it is true, is based off of like false pretenses, or they're, it's all subjective. To some, they're possibly sacrificing their soul in order to obtain said thing or said lifestyle.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a thing. People confusing peace with avoidance too. Like, I feel like we talked about this in our previous episode. That's avoidance is becoming more, I guess, prevalent. and maybe it is somewhat to do with the reality of this the state of the world right now, you know? So that ties into also escapism too. Like we find different ways to kind of like distract ourselves from the reality, you know. Like I think we mentioned in the last episode about how people go to the gym and they, you know, they
Mhm.
dive into that and they dive into fitness, but then, you know, their mental health maybe not all the way there, or they're not speaking to, you know, people about what they're experiencing because they're just like on a strict program or whatever. So, I don't know, how do you feel about that?
Um, yeah, I think there's definitely a lack of common courtesy when it comes to individuals, and that's coming from that sort of avoidance, sort of or avoidant personality type that they're developing. So it's like instead of addressing things head on, they just, whether it's ghosting or abandoning projects or whatever the case may be, just not being vocal about certain things, even if, it's not under certain pretenses, which is funny because I was watching a clip of Ari Lennox on the Breakfast Club today. Um, and they obviously asked her about, why she left Dreamville and things of that nature. And for people who don't know, like she basically made like a social post saying like, she's doesn't want to be part of the label anymore, that they knew she wants to get out of her deal or whatever the case may be. They granted her wishes and now she's directly under Interscope. But in the Breakfast Club interview, she apologized and said like she wished she didn't take the social media route with making that announcement and like actually calling J. Cole and actually speaking to him. And even
Mm,
in having those trying to reach out or making that request to be released from the label, she didn't call him. She sent a voice note. So it's like there's still a level of avoidance there.
mm,
And she was explaining how she was very emotional at the time, whatever the case may be. And I think that's a behavior you're seeing a lot with a lot of people of they feel a certain way about certain things, and instead of being vocal about it, they'll send a text or they'll send a
mm,
voice note. They won't call, or they'll make an effort to avoid you if they happen to be, someone that you could see in real life. It's like, oh no, I'm not going to this restaurant anymore, or I'm not going to this gym anymore. Um, and so it was really unfortunate because one, human connection is necessary. And a lot of times if you just vocalize whatever it is, hopefully the other person on the opposite end is able to receive and understand you, and then you could kind of move on from it. But I think when you don't, that's where the other person then has to fill in the gaps, and then it creates sort of that disdain or lack of trust with said individual. Because it's
mm,
like I'm a big believer in that. Like, say what you got to say, good, bad, or indifferent, say what you got to say. If you just go crickets and I don't hear from you, or you don't express yourself in the way you need to express yourself, I'm probably going to be more frustrated with you directly than actually, you know, uh, being avoidant, or I'll be more frustrated if you are avoidant versus if you actually told me and I didn't like what it is that you had to tell me. But I would respect it more if you said what you needed to say up front versus avoiding me in some sort of way. Because, yeah, I'm a big believer in that. I would rather someone be transparent and straightforward with me, whether I like what they have to say or not, versus being avoidant or holding back their thoughts. And then that's going to make me more frustrated because then at some point you'll probably get over it if we're still cool. And then you'll tell me, like, oh, yeah, I probably should have said this, but I didn't say it. And it's like, bruh, why did you hold this in? Because maybe I could have had a different outlook. Maybe my behavior could have changed about something. Like so many different things could have happened if we had the conversation. But
mm.
a lot of times people don't, be adult enough uh, to express themselves in the way that they need to express themselves. So
Oh,
quite
man.
unfortunate.
You just I guess you just triggered me into a rant now because
Listen, it's your show. You do what you want.
you know, I love that you brought that up because I think that it's kind of disrespectful for somebody to think that a text message is the right way to go about expressing something that's, you know, I guess a little bit more sensitive. It depends on the topic, right? Picking up
Mhm.
the phone is cool. I would prefer a voice note, instead of a text message if you don't wanna, interact in person. So, going back with what you said about Ari Lennox, sending that voice note to J. Cole, I can see that, and I mean, you gotta give her grace too. She is young. I think she's around my age. And, the pressures of, I guess, um, delivering for a label that's mainly men. I think she was probably one of 2 female artists on that label. I know they
She's the
had
only
a
female.
a rapper at one point, Tate, Baby Tate, or they never signed her? Okay.
Mm.
Well, and it's just like, yeah, so you have all this pressure. J. Cole's this big name. I love Ari Lennox down, so I was supporting her. I went to one of her shows, I think she did with, Jasmine Sullivan.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it's just like, do I think being in person is the best way to express something. But yeah, a text message is like dead no.
I mean, yeah, I would have to agree. So I agree because what you said makes sense. Me personally, I don't really care as long
Mm,
as you express what you need to express. If
mhm.
you're holding back, I'm gonna be annoyed because that's information and that's context I do not have. And
And I don't feel
because
like I
I
have
don't
to take that out of a person too. Like if you're
right,
sending this
yeah,
paragraph about how you feel, then okay, cool. Like we're gonna leave it there. I'm not gonna go back and forth. I'm gonna accept it and let you go about
yeah,
your
yeah. Like
life.
I'd rather someone express everything they need to express versus not saying anything at all. And granted,
Mhm.
some people may come depend it all depends on the situation. Some people may
Right.
feel like I don't want to say anything. Like I'd rather just not. I don't care enough to respond, which
Mm,
is cool too, but me preferably like I like to express myself or at least express my thoughts in a respectful manner. Um
mhm.
and whatever works. So yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think it's important too. I guess it depends on the circumstances, right? And your energy. Like sometimes it's just like, do you even have the capacity? Like so, for me, at least, I'm like, I don't even have the energy to do this right now because this is gonna drag emotionally for me. So I'm just like,
Mhm.
let me just nip it here and not get too OD about it. So that's where I stand with that rants. Do you have any rants or an obsession related to or
No, I've done enough ranting for 1 week. No, no rants for me.
no rants tonight? Okay, that's
No rants
fair.
for me. I'm good.
All right. So what does soft life mean to you? Like how would you describe a soft life as a man?
Ooh, great question. I would say soft life for me at this point in life is like it's gonna sound basic, but it's really basic. Like as long as I have a stable roof over my head, I live in a safe environment, I'm able to afford the things that I want to afford. I get to enjoy the people that I want to enjoy, and I have my peace of mind. Like I'm cool, Like I was never the most, flashy person in the world, or like, I've never been the most materialistic individual. Like I like nice shit, but I also like nice shit within my budget. Like I've never been like a label crazy or label whore, designer drip down or whatever the case may be. It's like if I want something, like if I can afford it, I'm going to try to get the best possible model or make of said item. If not, then I'm gonna stick within my budget. Um, but yeah, like I think soft life is very interesting in general in terms of how people can perceive what it should be. Because I
Mhm.
think some people look at it as like more grandeur than versus what most people are, trying to achieve, like a healthy, everyday sort of lifestyle. And it's all subjective. Like if that's what you want the trips constantly, you want the designer bags, like there's nothing wrong with that. You're totally within your right to have those desires. Um, but that's not necessarily something that I desire. Like I really comfort and ease and peace of mind. Like I have that and health.
Right.
I have all that. Like I'm cool. Like I'm a very easy person to please in that sort of way. Like it's very there's very little that, like, really disturbs me greatly. Like, if I have my basic necessities, like, I'm cool. Like, everything else is just noise. Like, I could
Mm.
ignore the noise. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I feel like for me versus, now as being a mom, how I prioritize soft life and what I consider soft is it has changed. Before, I was more into, I guess, being around people. Like I guess soft was not as prevalent, I would say. I would say it was more so now where like I feel like I understand the nervous system and like I want peace. Like I want to
Mhm.
just be in my home reading or, working on something, studying something. I'm big into like astrology, so I'll like dive into certain, creators who talk about that. Like I'm just like, interesting numerology. What else? Soft life. And also, like, less drama. I feel like not really participating in, like, gossip or being around or watching those shows because I was one of those, like, reality TV show junkies, I would say. Like, I used to dabble in, the VH1s and the Oxygen or whatever, and, like, I
Mhm.
definitely paused on, like, certain content that wouldn't align with what I wanted to, I guess, experience. It's entertainment, it's funny. I like to, watch it every now and again when I see the clips. But yeah, versus now, I probably don't dabble a lot in that kind of content. So yeah, that's what I would describe soft.
Let me ask you this. What do you think general men, or let me use proper grammar here. What do you think men in general, uh, how
I feel like from what I've observed, because I have a brother, so I would say like viewing
I never
his.
knew this. Never knew
I
this.
do, yes. And so, like, I feel like for example, they have hobbies like gaming. Like, I feel like a soft life would be like zoning into their extracurricular activities more. Maybe if
Okay.
they're into sports, they are in a league, or I know a couple of people who participate in those kind of activities. So, I feel like that pours into wanting to balance out your life, that creates a little bit of softness because you're in touch with your with yourself outside of like how you perform in your career, if
Mhm.
that makes sense. Soft, I don't know, because I feel like the stigma is like they're supposed to be tough and they're supposed to, have this like demeanor of like a macho man or whatever. So soft could be them prioritizing their maintenance too. Like I'm here for the guys who get their pedicures and their manicures, colors. I'm not, that's another conversation. But to each their own. Um, but yeah, I'm not opposed to that like
Mhm.
essence from a man, but I do appreciate like a manly man as well. Like I feel like everybody has duality too. So it's like
Right.
if you're not embracing your femininity, like there's something to dive into there as a man, like you can't just be so rigid and like, bar.
Yeah, I feel that. The reason why I asked is because, well, this thought popped into my head as you were answering my question. Is I don't think, obviously, when we think about masculinity, as you were mentioning, like, you won't use the word soft because soft is looked at someone who's, weak and, brittle, or whatever one of the words you want to use in that case.
Mhm.
So, but with that being said, there isn't necessarily terminology that is more masculine appropriate in that way. So that then leads me to believe, when we're talking about the idea of how young boys who grow to men are how they're raised, they're not necessarily taught about what kind of lifestyle they should have. They're mainly just taught of like the things that you need to acquire, of like getting a degree, getting a high paying job, making a lot of money, getting a nice house, getting a car, getting, the baddest chick out. Like, That's really it. Like, there's no other sort of conversations around it of like, okay, yeah, you may have these things, but what does your lifestyle look like? What are the things that,
Mhm,
you're putting on a pedestal to ensure that you're happy in a multitude of ways? And I don't think those are conversations that are being had to young boys. And so a man don't know what a quote unquote soft life looks for him
mhm,
because he hasn't been taught that otherwise, and which is why you sometimes see the commentary of like, men want to be the new women, like they're trying to do the things that the women's do, like they're being sassy, like they're doing all these other things. And
I
I
seen, like,
think,
a Valentine's Day, you know how the girls have Galentine's, like, that
excuse
was
me.
something that I've seen, yup. You heard right, Valentine's Day for the men who wanna celebrate, their love too as men. I'm here for it.
I don't even have to worry about it because me and my homeboys ain't doing that shit. Anyways, yeah, so I think in general, men aren't necessarily taught like what kind of lifestyle they should have or what they, what they should be trying to discover for themselves so that way they could establish it. And so I think that's why you do find individuals who may have those things and they're unhappy because they don't know what lifestyle that they want for
Mm,
themselves. Like they've done all these other things and that's what they were told is going to make them happy. But it's like, is that what you really wanted? Um,
mm,
because yeah, like, you kind of, and as black and brown people, we come from lesser means. So the idea of treating yourself is, you getting too comfortable. Like you need to constantly be on the grind. You need to constantly be on the
mm,
hustle. And like you can, but you also need to like uh benefit or have the fruits of your labor too. Like you need to, sometimes you got to splurge on yourself a little bit. Treat what
yeah.
shorty from Parks and Rec, treat yourself. Like you got to treat yourself.
Of
And if you
course.
don't do that, then you're gonna be unhappy.
Yes. I encourage people to dive into solo traveling or traveling with friends if you have friends who are down to travel and like just taking time off of the routine. I think prioritizing soft life is important for both genders. It's not just a female thing. And there probably isn't a word for a masculine word for soft because let's just call that what it is, like let's just it doesn't have to be gender assigned, in my
This is true.
opinion.
Yes, this is very true.
Okay, so diving into the next segment, softness in motherhood, moments of stillness. I have a 6-year old almost now, so a lot of the time she's watching something or we're doing something crafty and like that can consume a lot of my energy. So softness for me would be like turning everything off, quiet home, maybe like light a candle and an incense and just like sit in silence or, read a book or read the Bible or, doom scroll. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? I just want to watch nonsense. And I'll, and not so much because my algorithm doesn't really show me a lot of dumb stuff anymore. But there are certain creatives that I follow that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to just go on this page account and just like laugh. I like to laugh. So I think that's another thing, another form of embracing softness,
Mhm.
choosing patience too over frustration because I've learned like overstimulation, that happens, especially when like people are so demanding of you throughout the day, your children, your job. It's like, you have to do some woosahs, the breath work. I've learned a lot about breath work. I practice that because, it helps. You guys look into that if you're into, more holistic ways to ease off frustration. Um, so yeah, what are some ways you feel like you inhibit to remain zen, especially, with other trying times, the chaos.
I don't know, man. I might be the wrong person for that question. I don't get there's not too much that really bothers me. I've
Okay.
always been very fortunate to kinda have the understanding to look at things from perspectives. So with that being said, like, it is very rare that, like, I'm that bothered. And so because of that, there's very few times do I really need to, like, find something to kinda, like, relieve myself or find some sort of, peace and calmness. I would say there's definitely like, there may be rare moments where like my social meter may be at capacity. And so I would ensure that, I have my time to myself. I guess that's one form of it. I think to answer the question, because I was being long winded, I think what helps me do that or what helps me establish that is like staying in my routine. As long as I stay in my
Mm,
routine, then I don't necessarily have to like seek specific things when I'm off schedule because it's like, okay, maybe one thing doesn't go my way, but because I've already followed the majority of my routine, I'm fine. Like I've been fortunate. I'm very blessed and fortunate enough where it's like I never had to like turn to vices like drinking
mhm.
or smoking weed or abusing sex or, harder drugs. Like I don't overindulging
Praise
in certain
God.
things. Yeah, like that was never an issue for me. Um, and so like I've never been like, oh yeah, like I've done X, Y, and Z. Like I need a spa day or I need this. And it's like, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like
Mhm,
probably should. I'm overdue for any of those things, but that's never been something that's like been top of mind because it's like I'm for the most part, usually be in alignment with the things that matter to me. Like there may be
mhm,
other things that I'm misaligned, but I'm also aware of like everything is temporary. So it's like I'm not gonna let this become too much for me because I know this ain't gonna be here forever. Or
mhm.
when it becomes too much, I take, certain steps, like quit my job. So I don't know. I don't know. But if
Very action oriented.
listen, man, this is why I'm not the right person, when it comes to like complaining and you just want to showcase emotions. Like I'm a logical thinker. So I'm always going to be like, okay, I hear you. I feel you. You're right. You're wrong, whatever you may be. Now, how are we going to move forward from it? When you're
Right.
not action driven, like that disturbs me greatly. Um, but I'm trying to think of like what I would possibly do. I would say if I feel like I may be too much caught up in like a certain way of my life, then it's like, okay, I gotta go see a museum or I gotta go dine out somewhere and like have an alternative experience versus getting caught up in whatever routine I'm in that way. So I guess that's my like form of like soft life. And I to take it to another level,
Yeah.
I'll probably do those things solo and I'll probably do those things earlier in the day so I could get it done and out of the way of like
Mhm.
not, being stressed by large crowds or being overstimulated in that way. So it's like, I guess
Yeah.
that's my form of like, okay, this is my soft life. I can't afford to, buy out a fucking museum dolo. But if I could go first thing in the morning and avoid the foot traffic, then it's like, I indulge in this basically by myself. So that's my
Mm.
closest form of it.
Okay, okay. Well, to wrap up the conversation, maybe the soft life isn't about escaping responsibility, but creating life where responsibility doesn't feel like punishment. So, having that balance and not overwhelming yourself and taking a lot of things off so you feel like, oh, I need to do this because I've done so much. Having a balance with the responsibilities and just incorporating things that are peaceful to you. If you are inspired by this conversation and want to give us some tips, give me some tips of your soft life routine. How do you incorporate, the softness into your realm? Let us know in the comments. Like, follow, subscribe. Any final thoughts on your end?
I would say something we probably didn't bring up, and I don't know if we should have,
Mhm.
but I would say something we didn't bring up is how I think the conversation we've had today was more so of like a healthier aspect of it, of like it's less about the materials and what you're necessarily putting out on social media, and like really focusing on the things that really truly matter to you, versus what we typically see on social media when it comes to soft life of I have all these expensive bags. I'm always on these trips. If you got a 9 to 5, I can't talk to you. If you're not making X amount of money, I can't talk to you. If you're not doing this, if you're not doing that, I wouldn't go here because that's where, the dusties go and all these other different things. Um, and I think that's where the idea of soft life has gotten lost because
Mhm.
and I don't know. I don't know how it was when it first was being introduced, but I think it's taken a turn where it's become more capitalistic and more materialistic. And now younger people are growing up are thinking, oh, that's the standard. And funny enough, I think it really started with something you just mentioned of like reality TV. I think
Mhm.
when we start to see these housewives and you start to see these people adjacent to celebrities and how the lifestyles they live and how they, belittle each other, then some people started to take that as like, oh yeah, like this person is entertaining. I want to be kind of like them. And I think that started to like trickle. And so you have people, they'll do certain questionable acts for access to these sort of lifestyles. But I think the root of soft life, or what it should be, is more so of like creating a lifestyle that actually like benefits you and is fulfilling for you, and not only just for because there's nothing wrong with having bags and trips or whatever the
Mhm.
case may be.
Within your means,
Yeah,
to take out a loan to have a soft life, too.
or even if you are someone who you prefer that the other person pay for that shit, like
Right.
if that's the type of individual you want to date, whatever, but more power to you. But I think the root of what soft life really should be encompassing all those things with like, yeah, maybe
Mhm.
there's certain higher end things that you want out of life, but then there's also things that aren't necessarily, that don't cost any money. Like one of the examples you gave was like just turning everything off, like not being stimulated by a phone, a computer, a TV, or whatever. Like that doesn't cost you anything. You're actually
Right.
saving money when you do that.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, but we don't get those kinds of conversations in surplus. Like they're there, but that's not the thing that gets pushed out to
You're
social media
right.
as often. It's more so
Emphasized.
like, yeah, if you're not in Turks and Caicos, what are you really doing with
Right.
yourself? Like,
It's so crazy. The expectations that people place, especially in our generation. And it is, people in a form, in a sense, like kind of like shaming people, like the
oh,
conversation too.
100%.
Oh, if you're not a homeowner, and if you're not, if you're, leasing your car, you have to have ownership. And it's like at the end of the day, a lot of these things, I think we talked about this before, they're still the banks, they're not really yours. You're not taking this with you either. So it's like, what are we really like bragging about here? Like let's all calm down and get back
I
down.
think it goes to your rant from the other episode of like people arguing for the sake of arguing.
Mhm.
And that's
That
why I
too.
don't argue because
Yeah.
first of all, you're not going to change somebody's mind. So like, well, why would I be wasting my time and energy to try to convince somebody who's already doubled down on what it is that they, believe in? So
Right.
yeah, yeah. It's
I
definitely
mean,
been pitched in a way where it's like it's more shameful. It's been like, yeah, I'm doing this, but also like if you're
you gotta
not
catch
like,
up.
yeah, like I can't hang out with
Ooh.
it makes me think of that video that went viral like a few years ago of that it was like two black women and it was like right around Thanksgiving and she was like, yeah,
Mhm.
your plate is low vibrational. And
Right,
it's like,
right.
what are you talking about? Like,
Or there
what are
was the
you
most recent one too, where it was like that she was kind of telling her friends like, "Oh, well, you in a group chat, oh, you wear Shein or Sheen, I don't know how you
Mhm.
pronounce it. We're more of like luxury stylers. Like, I don't want to be associated with you because you don't have, Louis Vuitton." And it's like they did her a favor because why would I want to be around people who are like, have that mindset? Like, if anything,
And And if we want to keep it a buck, I don't know if he's still on TikTok, but
Mhm.
there's this guy. I don't know what country he's from. He's from some European country or whatever. He will take bags from different institutions, deconstruct the bag because I think he either works in manufacturing or has some sort of manufacturing background. And he will deconstruct the bag, and then he'll tell you like, "Oh, this is worth $20 worth of leather, and this kind of stitching labor is really like $5 worth." Y'all overpaying for shit. Like y'all swearing by these labels and y'all overpaying for shit. Like for a long period of time, people used to clown on Coach. That used to be like the joke.
Mhm.
But more recently, in the last few years, from a aesthetic standpoint, Coach has, done better in terms of the products and the things that they launch. But a lot of times when he's like deconstructing these bags, you're paying $2,000, $3,000, several $100s for these Louis Vuitton, Christian Dior bags or whatever. He breaks it down like, honestly, this bag really costs like $100. But
Mhm.
then he'll do like a Coach bag. Coach bag was like 250. It's like, this was really, $200 worth of work. So it's like you're getting more of a value versus someone else is really just beating you over the head because of a name brand. So it's
Right.
like, if that's the allegiance you want to have, more power to you. Ain't my money, ain't my business. Live your best life. But it is
But
what it
yeah,
is.
no,
People gonna choose their sides.
definitely. And we as a generation, we have to think more long term, I feel like, because I think you mentioned too earlier on in one of the episodes how you spend a lot of money on shoes at one point, and it's like all that money goes down the drain. At some point, maybe you get bored of it. There's a lot of people too that express like, I have all these bags, and I want to get rid of them. Like, I don't even want them anymore. They just become memories too. Like, let's say they're like past lovers' gifts. So now you got all these bags from all these, all these
She
memories.
she collecting souls over there.
So it's like, and certain things you gotta release. You gotta let
That's
go.
funny. I've never thought about that. Like going on dating somebody and like possibly all the bags that not all, but a handful of the bags that she has been purchased by another. And I know why. I don't think about other men. I don't think about other men, so it would never cross my mind. I don't give a fuck who bought you the bag. He did me a favor. That's a bag I ain't got to buy.
Well, I think we went on a tangent there, but that was a very good point though. And just in your own bracket, you don't have to go and do the extravagant things to live a soft life. It could be simple. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to subscribe to the luxuriness that they like to market these days, because it is just marketing. It's just, people online who want you to click on their link to get all these extra things so that they can get a commission for it, for the most part.
Yep.
Thank you for chatting with me tonight, and we will see you guys soon on the next episode.